And what was your experience is working as a family unit in this business? I ask that because I also come from our own family business,
Yeah.
PDC Machines, which has since moved on, but it has an interesting dynamic. It could be thrilling and
Yeah.
fun, and it could have a challenging time. So,
Ours was mostly challenging.
okay.
Ours was mostly challenging, and it was a reason why the governance worked for us to get to a place where we could all speak honestly about what was best for the whole.
Welcome to the Pioneers of Possibility podcast, the podcast that focuses on our guests' life's experience that have driven them to create meaningful change in the world, themselves, and their organizations and those that they serve. I'm really pleased this week to be joined by Scott Hackman, the CEO and founder of SHV Ventures. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Kareem. So good to be with you.
It's really great to have you. So, Scott, tell us how you got here.
Yeah.
How did you get to SHV Ventures? Let's go back in time.
Yeah. So before SHV, I was an accidental entrepreneur.
Accidental.
Yeah. So accidental because it wasn't until looking back that I realized kind of what I was doing and what mattered and where it was really coming from. So it started for me, I would say, like in my family. So I grew up in a family that cared about community. They cared about working and supporting difference and people that didn't have what we had. So I just grew up around my dad picking up people that were living without homes, very involved in Philadelphia philanthropy, involved internationally in philanthropy and nonprofit. So I grew up around that kind of environment. And as a result, in 2006 to 2007, our family came together and we were discussing what would it be like to start a business that had people and planet in mind. And so that took us into this journey where my wife and I built out the business plan and we started a company. And the reason I say accidental entrepreneur is because that wasn't the intent. Like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. We're going to be a business. We're going to help people. We're going to do this through coffee. Through coffee.
Okay.
And the way we're going to do it through coffee is we were going to participate in what was happening at the time, which was this emergence of benefit companies. So B Corps. Yep.
Okay.
B Corp. So, Jay Cohen or Bart Houlihan out of Philadelphia started the B Corp. And the B Corp really looked at how does a business actually in its operations and from supply to customer to finance actually benefit the whole ecosystem. And that
So from suppliers,
yeah,
through people who work for you, the communities that you sit in.
Exactly.
How does your business benefit everybody who touches what you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at that time, specialty coffee, which was the market we were in there, I don't know the exact number, but I would say probably like 500 of us, like in the United States, where today there would be maybe
500 specialty coffee
roasters.
Roasters.
Yeah, roasters.
Okay.
So think of us as manufacturers.
Sure.
And it was a trend that was emerging and really growing. A lot of publicly traded companies were starting to look at these roasters from like Portland, Seattle, Chicago, Philadelphia. And there was this whole need that grew out of that. And we were really blessed and benefited from the opportunity to sell into grocers that were looking for local companies that represented these values.
That's really fascinating. So you started this B Corp.
Yeah.
In coffee,
Mm-hmm.
in an industry that is a bit dominated in this area, specifically by Starbucks
Yes.
and Dunkin'.
Yes, correct.
It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, we saw possibility.
Yes.
So the possibility came because we traveled internationally, primarily with my father, to some of these growers, some of these areas of the world. So we could really see the distinctive that was being created at the farm, which needed the whole value chain to see, which is marketing. So there was a market in the US of saying, we want this conscious consumer. We want this quality. This happens through the source and the quality of the roast.
So where were you sourcing your product from? Where were you sourcing beans?
Yeah, what we wanted to do was be direct. So we wanted to be as direct as possible. But what we learned is we could build a relationship with a broker. that had these same values in their sourcing. So we did that through primarily one source out of New York, Royal Coffee.
Royal Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And they allowed us to sustain the level of transparency and what was required for us to maintain our B Corp.
So the coffee company's evolution, how long did the family hold the business?
Yeah, so we held the business from 2007 to 2018. The family, they're not just an accidental entrepreneur. I think we were accidental family businesses. We had no business being business together. We stumbled upon something great, really, and we stumbled on what we needed, which was governance. And through the help of a local group, we were able to establish governance, which was simply a set of meetings as owners, as board members, and really what ended up becoming family investors. We became a whole family that invested in this, meaning my sister, my brother-in-law, and just to keep the demand and the growth happening.
And what was your experience is working as a family unit in this business? I ask that because I also come from our own family business, PDC Machines, which has since moved on, but it has an interesting dynamic. It could be thrilling and fun, and it could have a challenging time. So
ours was mostly challenging.
Okay.
Ours was mostly challenging, and it was a reason why the governance worked for us to get to a place where we could all speak honestly about what was best for the whole.
And now One Village Coffee.
Well, thankfully, part of the transition was they purchased the brand, remember manufacturing.
Yes.
So before the strike date, manufacturing transitioned to a local roaster. And that local roaster owns the brand today. Due to mismanagement of funds, they were able to sell off the brand later to Backyard Beans in Lansdale, who's doing a phenomenal job.
Backyard Beans, pretty cool.
Pretty cool. They're incredible.
Backyardbeans.com.
Backyardbeans.com. Incredible owners. And really, we're our whole family. We never experienced a windfall financially, but we see it as a success because of what ended up happening and the family that now owns it and what they've been able to do with it. They took it further and farther than we could because values.
So you took this family business learning.
Yes.
And took that into your next.
Yeah. So the next chapter was during the One Village Coffee journey. I was recruited by it was actually the same group that helped us form our governance.
Okay.
So Delaware Valley Family Business Center is a long-standing family business advisory firm that has helped hundreds of family businesses establish governance in succession and transition. And they recruited me. So I started working while I was on the board and an investor in One Village Coffee. I started working at the Delaware Valley Family Business Center as a successor to Henry Landis, the founder. And really, he helped me understand that I could kind of bring all these worlds together, these learning, this knowledge, skill, ability that was really based in who I am, which is a helper, and really start to carve out a coaching methodology for successors.
Were we one of your first clients?
Me?
So it's at PDC Machines. We use the Delaware Family Business Center as part of our transition process and succession planning. Mm-hmm. So at the time, we had our founder and our father was the president and CEO. I was vice president of sales, and Mateen was chief operating officer, who is my brother. And we were looking at someone to help us craft our own narrative and how succession would work. And we reached out to the Delaware Family Business Center, and the timing matches.
Yeah, you were one of my first where I was given the autonomy, to be the facilitator and coach, and it worked because of who you are. So your father, and Mateen, you're trained in a way of learning that works for me. So I could be facilitative. I could be actually coaching. You were the experts. I was creating the design for the conversations.
We'll also get to some philosophical process that you used as coaching, right?
Yeah,
so you
correct.
coach lots of family businesses. In ours, this worked really well because we were able to work with you. My brother and I primarily worked with you. My father worked with your founder,
Henry.
Henry, because he was able to talk to somebody in his own generation.
Yes.
We were able to talk to somebody who understood our challenges, and that really meshed really well. Yeah. You coached a multitude of family businesses.
Yeah.
How was your philosophy? How did you approach? Because these are fraught with family tensions, sibling rivalries, and parental control. In a lot of cases. How did you manage that?
Well, there's a lot of different frameworks that have informed how I engage or think about this process. So family systems theory baseline, Bowen family system theory, which comes out of Georgetown, which really identifies that we are in patterns of behavior that we can bring into management, we can bring into a board, we can bring into ownership. And all of us, whether we're family or not, can actually bring family patterns into these structures and systems. And so asking questions in a way that helps the leader identify the pattern, the belief sometimes that's no longer workable because of the need of the business or the outcome of the transition plan, let's call it. So that's one foundational philosophy that I learned at Delaware Valley Family Business Center. When I left DVFPC, I left with a deep desire to understand more of what I would call organizational readiness for transition. So I went back to school at American University for leadership coaching for organizational performance. I went deep dive into two theories, which is one is process consulting, comes from MIT Sloan Business School, and then leadership coaching, which comes from ICF or International Coaching Federation. What I wanted to understand is once we know the goal, what are the actual modalities? What are the ways of working together where we're walking alongside that actually do something that is only possible, like Keegan and LaHaye would talk about in Immunity to Change, is only possible to make this kind of transformation for this new outcome that you want to achieve. And a lot of that never happens in transition work, sale or exit, because we're limiting. We're sort of limiting our potential due to what individuals and groups go through. Fear, doubt, cynicism, worry.
The feelings world.
The feelings world.
The feelings wheel.
The feelings wheel. Yeah. So it's funny. Recently, I forget who
you sent me a mouse pad.
Yes, of a feeling.
With the feelings wheel.
It was fun.
One holiday season.
Yeah. And I was having this conversation with a group of tradesmen, and we're doing a training on emotional intelligence. And I like to say first, I came into this not because I wanted to talk about feelings. I came to this with emotional intelligence because the problems were so complex that what we learned is helping groups identify the goal, what's the outcome, and then what's in the way, not just structurally or systemically, what's in the way intrapersonally or interpersonally. It's the ability to be able to move up, 60,000 feet, 30,000 feet, 10,000 feet, viewing yourself in this dynamic or this interaction and say, hey, I notice this. I want to name this. And now all of a sudden on the field of play, we can work with something that's behind the scenes and creating some workarounds in our change work.
So I want to get to this emotional intelligence piece. So you left Family Business Center.
Yes.
You went through some intensive training.
Correct.
And then you created this
method,
this new method, and also this new venture.
Correct.
So let's talk about the venture.
Thank you. So 2018 was a big year. My wife and I managed a sale of One Village Coffee and a manage of an exit of a partnership of Delaware Valley Family Business Center to start what we called Scott Hackman Ventures. It was going to be a solo proprietor, executive advising, coaching, always on the intersection of the executive, the board, and the ownership transition change work for growth. The companies we were working with, about a dozen at the time, were necessary businesses, growing rapidly, high demand on organizational readiness, organizational capacity for change work. We're talking about legacy companies that have done things a certain way for a long period of time, and the demand of the customer is saying, increase your safety, increase your output, increase your quality. You got to increase these things. Well, we got to increase these things through people. And so they didn't have a chief people officer or chief strategist. So we bolted on. I started to hire 1099s or contractors that had subject matter expertise in organizational psychology, organizational development. They had a deep background in these types of trainings that I needed to now walk alongside, design, develop, and implement, so that eventually these companies could take these things forward.
So you were identifying needs in your client base.
Yes.
And you were bootstrapping by bringing in some expertise.
Yes.
That was allowing you to meet
need
in order to help them reach their growth potential, whatever that goal is.
And it was so exciting because now all of a sudden revenues are increasing, EBITDA's increasing, profitability is increasing, retention's increasing. I should have done a better job measuring this on the front end because I would have some kick butt case studies right now, but we were just going, we are now measuring on the front end of our work. There was a high degree of satisfaction, and that kept bringing us more work basically with current client, and then the referral base expanded. So now we work with uniquely 40 companies a year.
So Scott Hackman Ventures has morphed once again.
Yes.
Into SHV Ventures.
SHV Partners.
At SHV Partners.
So no problem. So at the end of last year, we have these advisors. We're bringing them on full time. They're no longer contractors, and we're building out even more contractors in our bench with unique SME. We went through like a rebranding process because we wanted to launch 3 product offerings: our consultation, which I described, learning and development management system that would be on a technology called Pathways, and then publishing. So we saw a need that in order to scale this, we would have to, the way to do this would be to produce subject matter expertise that are on our staff. Like today, to find a thought leader is very easy. It's a podcast, it's a post. Well, there's a lot of smart people doing a lot of good work that are never going to be celebrities. So if a platform can solve that, then we have a longer term runway, if you will, as consultants. And we're learning so much that we build a way to produce books and material. So it's SHV Partners for consulting, SHV Pathways for learning and development, and SHV Press for subject matter expertise.
That's really terrific. So I want to get into your practice a little bit. So with teams,
yes.
Right? So teams, sometimes even defining the goal and getting alignment on the goal is challenging. So
almost always, especially under duress. And you know this somewhat better than me.
So the market and our customers are asking more and more out of us, right? Or whoever it is, whether it's us, we're making high pressure gas compressors. Customers want more volume. They want more machines. They want higher capacity, which requires technological development and deployment. In the end, you have to add people. So talk to me about your aligning process, right? How do you get people who are maybe a little disparate to align on that goal? And then when we talked pre-podcast, you talked about aligning where you really see your business thriving is the alignment of people and process and teams, management board. How do you get them all to align?
Walking alongside, listening, helping, and learning starts with, are we aligned on vision, values, and goals? And what I've noticed, so that's the big picture of any organization. What I've noticed is there is more of a need of the iteration of, because of what you just described. The change of customer, the change of market, the change of demand requires the leadership, at the very least, to say, is this still true? Is our vision still true? Or where we're going really true? Are we all on board on that? And has everyone articulated the reasons why you're not? Your cynical voice, your doubtful voice, your fearful voice, like put that out on the table. It's data. There's intelligence inside of that. And we often sort of hold that back. So we need to facilitate an environment in which every executive leader is not working around each other, where they're really able to say, like, I doubt this because I am concerned about this because I've been down this road and I saw this. So once they can workshop, if you will, through all of their voices that are data, these feelings actually inform data, then they can begin to map out action plan, alignment, assess some of those things, align on those things, and action plan those, which builds in the accountabilities. So that would be on kind of the management side. What you described, which goes down the next level, maybe a business unit. I think the hardest thing that I've seen there is legacy, where people then are there and hearing the new whatever goal, the new system that they need to implement, the new standard operating procedure. And they're like, I never had to do this before. Why do I have to do this?
Why do I have to do this? Yeah.
There's no value.
What was wrong with the old way?
Yeah. I think that is really, really challenging. And what we've had the privilege of seeing are companies have taken what Ray Dalio, Ray Dalio, he wrote the book Principles.
I don't.
Okay. He wrote a book, Principles, is very famous. You can just download the PDF.
Okay.
He's from, I think it's Bridgewater. It's a hedge fund. It's outperformed but he's very famous now. But they've taken that idea of principles and they've brought it into behaviors. And they've made very, very simple operating procedure for behaviors from executive down to frontline. I can call you, Kareem, into this behavior, speaking clearly. Because what we're having in all this change is the language has to become so common and it has to be governing the actions, the disciplines, so that the legacy person can't be like, well, this is how I've always done it. Understood, you've always done it. And we're now one company going for this one goal for these multiplicity of customers inside of a multiplicity of people who all have preferences, by the way. And we understand this is your preference and it won't work anymore.
If I may try to rephrase that a little bit. So I grew up in Quaker schools and you come from a Mennonite heritage. And we talk about unity in decision-making, right? Mm-hmm. So where we can voice our disagreements and opinions, but in the end, the teams or the group comes out of it as part of a team, as part of a you called it one unit.
Yeah. One voice.
One voice.
Yeah.
We have the unity in decision-making and the whole company will speak with that one voice and go into execution.
And that's something I've witnessed with you. So there are certain leaders I've gotten to walk alongside of, and I know we're on a podcast, this is a little self-serving or whatever. You need to know, though, that that's the greatest learning I've ever achieved, if you will, is the walking alongside certain types of leaders. So you and Mateen had that, we're aligned on values, essentially, right? So to go from what I would observe as a more autocratic style of leadership to you and Mateen recognize that's not going to work for us, and then implementing it across change work, it's something to behold, because most people listening to this and most people in these high demand industries don't have role models. Like, they need an actual mental model and a pathway to say like, oh, I can slow down to speed up.
Slowing down to speed up is one of the best euphemisms, I would say, in business, right? So there's a huge amount of pressure on companies, shareholders, investors to ramp very quickly, right? Everybody wants that hockey stick growth.
Yes.
But almost universally, we have to step back to be able to pause and reflect on what it takes to get that one voice. And working with organizations like SHV Ventures, and at the time when we were working with you, the Family Business Center, it allowed us to take that step back in order to propel ourselves forward.
It makes me wonder if part of our work as leaders is really the listening. It's like, am I really hearing the thing that's keeping you from accepting this new way of working?
Listening, right? So we all believe we're active listeners, but in the end, sometimes, folks in executive positions, even folks at a lower level, this is a challenge, right? I know more than you because I'm the one putting it together, or I'm the one telling you what to do. How do you bridge that?
So a lot of my work today, when I'm doing one-to-one, so there's group coaching, there's one-to-one coaching. In one-to-one coaching, I'm articulating very clearly, we all have an emotional intelligent muscle. There's 9 frameworks for emotional intelligence. I think Goldman's is still one of the best. It's very simple. And it's helping the leader understand what's getting in the way of listening, from awareness to regulation to motivation to social awareness.
So regulation of their own emotions.
Correct.
For example.
Yeah.
Okay.
So often the type of leaders we're walking alongside are high drivers, high D, high dominance when they're problem solving. That doesn't work really well when trying to accomplish goals with and through others, which I would argue for as the definition of leadership is to accomplish goals with and through others. So if you have your agenda, does everyone know the purpose? Maybe just start with, what is the purpose?
The purpose of this meeting
of
is
the actual
to get to this conclusion, or not this conclusion, but to make a decision.
There you go. And as a result of that purpose, what would be an outcome? And has everyone identified it? Because everyone has an assumption. Everyone has and we think, and we're so smart, we're so like professional, we shouldn't need to pause for 3 minutes to identify, ask everyone, what's the purpose? What's the outcome? What do you want? We need to, because the rate of change, the pace, we're not giving people access to their executive function. We're now back in our reaction and we're not thinking.
I will say that in some of our more recent meetings a couple of years ago, you started the meeting with that question. What do you want to get out of this meeting? And sometimes you just want somebody to talk to, but at the time it frustrated me. But as I matured, as we all do in our executive function, it's how I start meetings now. What frustrates you most as being a business owner?
Honestly, payroll. Needing to fill the funnel, because if I don't fill the funnel, then people don't eat, or I lay off people. And in consulting, there's no renewal. There's no automatic renewal. And in our consulting specifically, we're not trying to leech off of you. Meaning we're trying to build capacity and then exit. It's very clear. It's terrifying. It's genuinely a real concern. And I think fear is a very rational emotion to have as a business owner.
It absolutely is. And sometimes fear drives really good decision making. When you validate that fear, usually you get to good outcomes.
Especially when you're in a trusted, like I have now, a trusted group of leaders, consultants that are leaders on the team.
Excellent. And what are you most excited about as you move into the future?
The opportunities, specifically the types of clients that are interested in working with us are leaders in their industry across our country. They are companies that are genuinely trying to stay private and they're thinking creatively now. We need more creativity in how to maintain private ownership. Speaking specifically like direct employee ownership, ESOP, family office money, like just more friendly financial ways to exit equity, because these enterprises have become so substantial and they're building communities. It's like your family. Your family to me is a beacon of, I would like a case study. It's like, okay, well, look at this family. Look at what they're doing. This is the same pattern that families have done for generations. They acquire wealth defined by 5 forms of capital: social, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and financial. And they transfer that through philanthropy, enterprise, family, education, faith community. The headwind we're up against is the belief that we do this alone, as anyone in a helping field. This idea that I got to solve the problems by myself. I don't need a thinking partner. We all need a thinking partner.
We all need a thinking partner. And with that, almost going back to the beginning, right? One village, it really does truly takes a village to grow a business, thrive in the community, in the business workplace. And it takes a village of peers and mentors and doers in order to drive really successful outcomes. So with that, Scott Hackman, I really appreciate you joining the show. And your website?
It's shvpartners.com.
Excellent. Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This show's been produced by Danny Vagnoni, with music created and written by the artist known as Sahari, with artwork produced by Kareem Afzal. I'm your host, Kareem Afzal. See you next time.
We have to start this again because I tilted it down.